All right, so today we're going to dive into something that could be really interesting, especially if you've ever thought about maybe, uh, trading in your current zip code
Hmm.
for like, I don't know, a cute little seaside town in Nova Scotia,
Right?
or maybe like a cool condo in Vancouver.
Yeah.
We're talking Canadian immigration,
Okay.
but not just the basics.
Okay.
We're going deep on how provinces are getting like really picky about who they want using this thing called the Provincial Nominee Program, or PNP.
So what's really interesting about the PNP is it basically lets these provinces and territories sort of handpick the newcomers they need most.
Okay.
It's almost like they're building their dream team, right, based on like their
Yeah.
specific goals. So it's not just about like, oh, I want to move to Canada. It's about where in Canada is the best fit for my skills and what I want to do.
Like they're trying to find the right puzzle piece for
Okay.
their economic landscape.
Yeah, and speaking of fitting in, we saw some recent PNP draws in Ontario and British Columbia,
Hmm.
and I think they highlight exactly how provinces are getting really specific with what they're looking for.
Yeah, I saw that in the news.
Yeah.
What's the deal with these draws, and what do they tell us about what these provinces actually need right now?
So essentially, both Ontario and British Columbia held these PNP draws in the past week.
Oh.
And it's essentially an invitation for potential immigrants who they think, fit their criteria
Hmm.
to apply. And they use this points-based system. So, having a job offer or experience in a field that's in high demand can really increase your chances of actually getting selected.
So I read that Ontario invited like over 1,300 skilled trades candidates.
Yeah.
So it's pretty obvious they need like skilled workers, right?
Yeah.
Like less
Yeah.
laptop, more hammer.
Yeah, they're definitely facing a labor shortage in those areas, and so they're using the PNP to attract people with those in-demand skills. So carpenters, plumbers, electricians, you name it.
And then British Columbia's draw.
Yeah.
That was interesting
Yeah.
because it targeted, I feel like, a few different sectors at once.
It did. They had like that general draw, but then they had those very specific ones, you know?
Yeah.
You mentioned childcare, construction,
Mm-hmm.
even veterinary care. It's like they're putting in an order for the exact skills that they need.
Exactly.
And this is really smart, right? Because it allows provinces to be very strategic in how they're, filling labor gaps and supporting certain industries.
Hmm.
So they actually have a lot of control in tailoring their immigration intake and focusing on, broad needs, like you said, construction, all the way to those very niche areas like
Yeah.
veterinary care.
Okay, so if I'm picturing this correctly, it's almost like each province has this like
Yeah.
shopping list
Yes.
of skills and experience that they're like really looking for right now.
Yeah.
And if you've got the right stuff on your resume, you're in high demand.
That is a fantastic way to put it. And just like any shopping list, right? Some items are hotter commodities than others.
Right.
Some provinces are even looking for, say, underwater welders
Wow.
for their coastal industries or competitive esports coaches
Yeah.
as the gaming industry, continues to kind of explode.
That's so cool.
You'd be surprised at what ends up on these lists.
Yeah, it's not just like your typical 9 to 5 that they're after. It's really interesting.
Mhm.
But this whole shopping list thing kind of makes you wonder, right?
Yeah,
Does every province have the same priorities?
absolutely.
Like if I'm a software developer,
Yeah,
is one province going to be like way more interested in my skills than another one?
that's a really important point. What might be a hot commodity in one province
Right.
might not be as sought after in another. For example, Newfoundland and Labrador.
Okay.
They recently announced that they've almost used up their allocation of provincial nominations for 2024.
Wait, hold on. Allocation. So, like, there's a limit on how many people each province can actually nominate.
You got it.
Okay.
The federal government sets these limits on how many immigrants each province can welcome through the PNP each year.
Wow.
And it seems like Newfoundland and Labrador has been quite successful, attracting newcomers, almost hitting their limit already.
Wow. So even if a province seems like a perfect fit for you,
Yeah,
there's no guarantee that they even have room for you.
exactly.
So what happens in Newfoundland and Labrador now? Do they just like press pause on immigration until next year?
Not exactly. They've basically said that they are going to prioritize applications
Okay.
for the rest of the year in sectors with those critical labor shortages.
Okay.
Healthcare, early learning, construction, those essential services.
So even with limited nominations, they're still like playing that needs versus wants game.
Exactly.
It sounds like anyone with experience in those essential areas would still have a good shot even this late in the year.
You're exactly right. And they've also mentioned that they'll still consider applications from individuals with what they call extenuating circumstances.
For someone new to this whole thing,
What?
what would be an example
Yeah.
of those extenuating circumstances in like an immigration context?
It can be a range of things. So, maybe needing to reunite with family in Canada due to, some unforeseen circumstances or having, unique skills that are crucial for a specific project.
Okay.
It's about looking at those unique situations that fall outside the standard criteria.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
So it adds another layer to this whole process.
for sure.
So we've talked about Ontario, British Columbia, Newfoundland, and Labrador, all with their own like needs and those limited nominations.
Right.
It really highlights how important it is to like actually know what each province is looking for right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's less about can I get into Canada
Yeah.
and more about where in Canada is the best place for my skills and experience.
Exactly. Each province and territory carefully crafts its PNT streams to address its own unique needs in the labor market
Okay.
and its economic development goals. So, just one example.
Mm-hmm.
A province that's looking to, say, grow its tech sector
Okay.
might prioritize candidates with experience in, software development, AI, or cybersecurity.
It's like each province has its own like
Yes.
hiring criteria then.
Yeah.
So if you're a software developer, you wouldn't just apply for any job in any province.
Yeah.
You'd look for openings where your specific skills are in high demand.
Precisely. And you have to remember,
Yeah.
we're talking about processing times that can range anywhere from,
Okay.
6 months to 18 months,
Right.
depending on the province and the stream. So doing your homework
Yeah.
on where you might have the best chances is essential.
Okay.
So, let's say you are that software developer.
Mm-hmm.
You'd want to look at provinces with PNP streams that
Yeah.
are designed to attract tech talent. British Columbia's Tech Pilot Program is a good
Mhm.
example,
Mhm.
or Ontario's Human Capital Priorities stream.
So it's not enough to just be good at what you do.
Mm-hmm.
You need to find the province that's looking for you right now.
Yes,
It's all about making that connection.
exactly.
But what about the application itself?
Mhm.
We've talked about draws and nominations and priorities, but what does the actual process of applying
Right.
through the PNP look like?
All right, let's break down that typical PNP application journey. All right, so let's say you've done your research, right? You've found a province that seems like a good match, and you're ready to start this whole PNP journey.
Okay.
What are the actual steps you need to take? Well, first, you really need to figure out which specific PNP stream within that province
Right.
aligns best with your profile and your goals.
Yeah.
And this is another area where that thorough research is so crucial.
Yeah, no blindly sending applications and hoping for the best.
Exactly. You don't want to do that. So once you've identified the right program,
Right.
you'll need to make sure you meet their eligibility criteria.
Okay.
And this might include things like language proficiency tests,
Mm.
educational credential assessments, and proof of work experience.
And having a job offer in that province is a big bonus, right? Like it's like saying, hey,
Wait,
I'm not just coming for the scenery.
All right.
I've got skills this province actually needs.
Absolutely. It shows that you're not just planning to reside in the province, but you're actually bringing valuable skills
Right.
that are going to contribute to their economy.
So you've got your ducks in a row, you meet the criteria, you submit your application, and then what?
And then comes the waiting game.
Oh, boy.
And this is where it can be a bit nerve-wracking. Processing times vary from province to province, and they depend on the specific stream.
I bet those months feel like years.
Yeah, they really can.
Hmm.
But let's say everything checks out, You're a good fit for what that province needs.
Okay.
And you get that exciting email.
Yes.
You've got the provincial nomination. What happens then?
You've cleared a major hurdle. But that nomination isn't like a golden ticket to Canada, right?
Right. It's not a guarantee.
Okay.
It's more like a significant boost to your overall immigration application.
Okay.
So you still need to formally apply for permanent residency through the federal government.
So it's like getting that job offer, but you still have to go through HR.
Perfect analogy. The federal government is then going to assess your application based on other factors like
Okay.
health, security, criminality.
Right. That makes sense. Like a two-step process.
Yeah.
Provincial nomination, and then that final federal approval. But
Yeah.
after everything we've talked about today,
Yeah.
it's clear that getting that nomination is a huge step. It
Absolutely.
really sets you apart from the crowd.
It really does, because it shows the federal government that you're not only admissible to Canada,
Hmm.
but that a specific province wants you there and believes that you're going to contribute to their community.
Okay.
So it's a very powerful thing to have.
This has been like really eye-opening expert speaker. We've gone from like this bird's eye view of the PNP
Yeah.
all the way down to like the nitty-gritty of applications and what provinces are really looking for.
It's a lot to unpack.
If you had to leave our listener with like just one key piece of advice about navigating this whole Canadian immigration thing
Okay.
through the PNP,
Hmm.
what would it be?
I'd say remember this. The PNP is a pathway,
Okay.
not just a program.
Okay.
It's about actively shaping your immigration journey by, like, really researching your options, understanding what those provincial needs are,
Okay.
and then demonstrating how your skills and experience actually align with what they need.
Okay.
It's about taking ownership of your immigration story and
Got it.
finding that perfect fit within Canada's diverse landscape.
It's like finding your tribe, but
Right.
on a province-wide scale.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe you'll even find a job training esports stars or
Right.
exploring the ocean depths.
Stranger things have happened.
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks for joining us on this Canadian Adventure Expert Speaker. It's been really cool.
My pleasure.
And for you, dear listener, if you were packing your bags for Canada tomorrow, what's the first thing you'd research based on what we talked about today?
Something to think about until our next deep dive. Happy exploring.